Hey everybody, happy holidays for those in the US here coming up into the next week. I'm going to be covering Pelosi threatens to delay the Senate impeachment trial. She's claiming that essentially it's not fair, and she's not really wrong. She's not really right because, in a sense, the House vote was not really fair to even get Trump to the impeachment trial in the first place through the Senate. But for into 2020, but that's a whole nother story. And as she's saying here, the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, refused to commit Wednesday to delivering articles of impeachment to the state, citing concerns about an unfair trial on removing President Trump from office. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video and comment below if you, with your own input, of course, and I'll continue on. Senior Democratic aides said the House was very unlikely to take the steps necessary to send the articles to the Senate until at least early January, a delay of at least 2 weeks and perhaps longer. Uh, they're dragging out because they feel that the people that are in the actual Senate are not going to vote fairly, supposedly, because they're more Republican toned. And if you've seen the votes for the Republicans and the Democrats, there wasn't really anyone voting against Trump for the Republican end of things. It was all Democratic. Political jousting is what I like to refer to it as. And just going on further, so far we haven't seen anything that looks fair to us, Pelosi told reporters at the news conference just moments after the House charged Trump with abuse of power and obstructing congressional investigations. That would have been our intention, but we'll see what happens over there. Pelosi's comments, which echo suggestions raised by other Democrats throughout the day, inject new uncertainty into the impeachment timetable and send the House and Senate lurching toward a political or potential institutional crisis. So they might end up dragging this out potentially till February. Of course, that would fit in with the January pumping up of the market, and then in February it usually kind of cools off a little bit. That way, it looks like the impeachment is kind of drastically affecting things, and then might affect Trump's reelection odds. But for the whole political thing here. It's a lot of drama and a lot of jousting, and how it's going to actually turn out is likely delays and then a pump of the market and then an acquittal from Trump. And historically, even back from starting out from all of this politics kind of stuff, that president or vice president has never really been removed from office after the impeachment process. They usually get it to the Senate, and then the Senate usually doesn't pass it because in most cases it's just all drama to kind of incite the market and distract it from other things, which I'll be getting into later in this video, so make sure to listen in through the whole video. And then Pelosi's comments, which echo suggestions raised by other Democrats throughout the day, inject new uncertainty into the impeachment timetable and send the House and Senate lurching into a potential institutional crisis. I already read that, I believe. Sorry about that. And then, though the House adopted two articles of impeachment charging Trump with abuse of power and obstruction of congressional investigations, it must pass a second resolution formally naming impeachment managers to present the case in the Senate. So there's a little bit more of a process going on, and in my other videos I cover that. You can check them out in the channel or the description below. And it must pass a second resolution formally naming impeachment managers to present the case in the Senate. That second vehicle triggers the official transmission of articles to the Senate, and by delaying passage of the resolution, Pelosi and top Democrats retain control of the articles and hope to put pressure on Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to adopt trial procedures that he considered bipartisan. So she's purposely delaying it to try to get some political leverage. She can probably delay and delay and delay, but uh, what she says is fair is she's trying to make it unfair, essentially, for the Trump impeachment trial to give them more of an edge and more political jabbing, so to speak, in order to better affect into 2020 how the impeachment trial goes and how the reelection odds for Trump go into 2020. Of course, this is just my opinion, so feel free to share in the comments below what your opinion is on all this political drama. I personally don't really follow along with it too much. I'm just interested in how it's going to affect the stock market into the next year, and I feel that economic data is more important than the potential impeachment and removal of Trump as president for 2020 because of the fact that no president or vice president has ever really went from the impeachment process to the removal process in the history of the United States, at least. And this is according to the sources like Wikipedia and things like that. So I'm not too worried about anything like that coming up, but I guess we'll find out into early next year. They'll probably drag it out from January to February, making excuses both on both sides of the Democrat and the Republican side, and then eventually it might get to some point where they might make progress. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to be covering a little bit of a Trump point of view here in just a second, not just Pelosi, so make sure to keep listening in and subscribe to the channel once again if you have not yet. McConnell has boasted that he has closely coordinated the planning of the trial with the White House and reportedly predicted Trump would be acquitted. He's also suggested Democrats shouldn't be allowed to call new witnesses as they attempt to present their case. The White House lashed out at the move. House Democrats have run a fatally flawed process with fake facts, and now they want to deny the president a day in court with another procedural maneuver that proves new that they have no case. So basically, the Republicans are arguing that they're delaying on purpose, more for political maneuvering, as they said, to create more drama and maybe affect his reelection odds into 2020. The convenience and the timetable of which is a little bit specific. And you got people like Barron Trump and Ivanka Trump trying to kind of say how it's more of an attack on him as a person and things like that. I'll do another video here or two with more input on Barron and more input on Ivanka. If you want to check those out, I will do another video. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to show that you're actually interested in another video for political related videos for stock market and how it'll affect it. But ultimately, I don't see really much of an effect in the short term, maybe, but in the longer term, I don't see this really impacting the market. Now, of course, if he somehow did end up getting removed from office, you might see a little bit of a downturn, but I don't think it's going to be like the collapse of the stock market or anything for 2020. And Pelosi's remarks follow similar comments from House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, the second-ranking lawmaker in the House, who said Democrats must discuss a last-ditch gambit to delay sending articles of impeachment to the Senate and prevent the Republican-controlled chamber from summarily discarding the case against Trump. Their biggest factor here is that it's Republican controlled chamber for the Senate, and it was for the House. It was more Democrat controlled. So obviously, you could see why it's not likely to pass the Senate vote in order for him to get removed. It's not really in their favor. They're just simply delaying and pushing as long as they can to create the drama that they want. My theory is she's going to try to sell a book or something into early next year about how she got Trump impeached and make monies off of that and gain other political favors, I'm sure. Of course, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that as fact, so make sure to leave your comments below what your opinions are. But we're going to get into the Trump side of things here, that Trump slams the potential delay in the Senate impeachment trial for 2020. You got President Trump on Thursday criticized House Democrats for their reluctance to transmit recently approved articles of impeachment to the Senate, arguing that they would lose by default. The trial was not conducted in the Republican controlled chamber. So basically, his theory is that they're trying to cheat the system in a sense by not honoring the fair value of what the Senate is and trying to push to get more of a spread between Democrats and Republicans so that they have more of an edge. It's all, like I said, it's all political jousting. Nothing's probably going to come out of any of this. Sort of like the U.S. And China trade deals, that it just gets dragged out on and on and on, and then eventually things cancel each other out, and it creates a lot of drama and things like that for short-term volatility, but long-term it doesn't really impact much of anything. And here's Trump's tweet from Twitter in 2019. I got impeached last night with one Republican vote being cast with 2-0 Dems on their continuation of the greatest witch hunt in American history. Now, the Do Nothing Party want to do nothing with the articles and do not want to deliver them to the Senate. But it's obviously the Senate's call in the end, is what he's saying, that the Senate is the one who makes the final call, and they're delaying that for whatever the reason. You can imagine whatever you want. Feel free to leave that in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you, of course, want more videos like this. I'm probably going to do maybe another few more, maybe up to 3 or 4 more into January. And then if there's enough appeal to it, I will continue to make additional videos. And the president's morning message came hours after the majority of the House voted Wednesday night to impeach Trump on articles charging him with the abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. But Speaker Nancy Pelosi signaled after the evening's proceedings that she may be held up for the delivery of those articles to the other side of the Capitol until Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell addresses Democrats concerning a trial biased in the White House's favor. And so far, we haven't seen anything that looks fair to us. Pelosi told reporters at a news conference, and kind of covered this earlier with what Pelosi was saying, that they say it's not fair. He says it is fair. It's kind of like two little children arguing in a political background, and these are grown adults, so keep that in mind, that have positions of power that influence government's procedures and things like that. And, the markets as a whole, and whole lot of other stuff. So it's a little worrisome that these are the people that we have to be stuck dealing with, but that's politics and that's life. Trump lashed out on the potential delay, tweeting, and then the Senate shall set the time and place of the trial if the do nothing Democrats decide, in their great wisdom, not to show up, they would lose by default. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. He also wrote that Pelosi feels her phony impeachment hoax is so pathetic she is afraid to present it to the Senate, which can set a date and put this whole scam in a default if they refuse to show up. The do nothings are so bad for our country. The President's post, however, incorrectly characterized the next steps in the impeachment process through the Constitution, gives the Senate the sole power to try impeachments. So a lot of that's just political drama as well from Trump's end. In the end, the Senate is the one who makes the decisions. So the House just has to basically send the documents over so that they can get through with the trial and go through with it and see what happens. My theory is Trump's just going to get acquittal, and that's pretty much it for into 2020. There will be a lot of drama, and then of course Trump will use that for re-election odds and improve them for 2020 for that aspect. And I would say, rather, Congress is now in a constitutional gray area with little guidance on what must come next, and Democrats are seizing upon that ambiguity to increase Senate Majority Leaders Minority Leaders Chuck Schumer's leverage as he negotiates with McConnell. It is unclear what authority Trump was courting regarding the Senate's power to set the time and place of an impeachment trial, but past precedent and procedures require the Senate to quickly convene a trial only once presented with the articles by the House. So the House could, in a way, delay this for weeks or months. I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed from January to February, because it's going to look kind of weird with the market still going up while he's in his trial, and it won't really go as much in their favor to trying for the reelection odds for other Democrats that might want to try to get elected for president and other powers of authority. And then you got the House Democrats have drawn their position based in part on discussions and public advice from constitutional lawyers who have argued that the chamber is under no obligation to transmit articles of impeachment to a Senate which leader has pledged to tilt the trial towards the president. It's all fun and games. My theory in regards to this is that it's a lot of this political jousting is, in a sense, propaganda to distract from what's really going on with Fed injections and things like that. You had the Fed injecting 104.5 billion into the financial markets, and if you look at basically when that was injected, you got the range here between October 16th and October 29th. The article came out on a little bit before the 29th and updated on the 29th, but as you can see here, it was struggling to really break any major points and it almost would have collapsed without that injection, I would say that theoretically we would have went back to around this range here, assuming the Fed injections did not happen. But since they did, and with all the extra monies made, we should be propping up maybe back down here into the low 3000s into early next year. My guess is February, we're going to see a big taper off. And then obviously, historically, if you look at the charts, it just kind of continues up and up and up. There isn't any larger catalysts. I don't think we're going to see a 2008 like drop. I would say that we're looking at drop similar to what happened in November, or rather, I think that's January into February kind of drop like we've seen in 2018, and then kind of a pop up and then continuation. Of course, this is all my theory. Make sure to leave your comments below what you feel is really going on with all this political jousting and drama, and leave it in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're still listening in. Have some other videos that are popping up here and a little subscription button that you can check out. All of that will be available in like a trading chat that you can check out as well in the description, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to check all that out and have a nice day.